Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Gabe.
It's Caleb.
And today you guys are watching the 40th episode of the Positive Outlook podcast. How insane is that?
Number 40, big 40.
Yeah, so what's going on today?
Well, our episode's a little different, and would you like to explain why, Gabe?
Yeah, so basically everybody I know right now has COVID. So even my roommate, who's like 20 feet that way, he's had it for 3, 4 days now. And Caleb was gonna come to Gaylord this weekend so we could record in person, but he stayed in Traverse City. So now we're doing we do it on Discord. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Pretty much just like Zoom.
Of course, everyone knows what Discord is.
And so we're doing the call on there. We are recording our episode. This is honestly, I'm surprised this is the first time we've had to do this.
Yeah,
Bec-
honestly.
because I mean, given everything, you living in Traverse City, me living in Gaylord, and then COVID being around for so long, I'm surprised it's taken this long for us to be separate doing a recording. And now the energy's a little down. And also I hate that there's a little bit of a delay. So when I finish saying
hmm
something, it's like a second and a half. I feel like I'm on like a news broadcast. So,
Right.
but
Yeah, it's like when they talk to the newscaster who's in the field, and he's
yeah.
just staring awkwardly at the camera, and then starts talking.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today in episode 40?
Today we are talking about why does it matter
Why does
when
it
when
matter?
why does it matter?
Why does it matter?
Because it matters.
Does it matter? What are we talking about when we ask why does it matter?
Other people's opinions.
Definitely. Why do they matter?
I mean, they shouldn't matter, should they?
No. No. See, we have 7 different steps here that we're going to talk to you guys about why others' opinions shouldn't dictate how you are as a person. And so moving into number 1, I guess, we'll start with people will always have somebody to talk about. And so what's your opinion on that, Caleb?
I think that's absolutely true. When I had someone kind of in this circle of friends, it was always talking about this guy, always, always, always. And then all of a sudden he moved and it was a new person they were talking about.
Mhm.
And so people just always they always find something wrong. You
Yeah.
know, we talk a lot about how, not to say I'll be happy when, it's kind of a similar situation. You know, if you're sitting here going, oh well, I'll be okay once this guy's gone, you're just gonna find a new person to have an issue with.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's always going to happen is people are going to talk regardless. And
hmm
if it's about you, I mean, don't take it personal. You know,
Right.
it's
You're
it's
just the next one on the chain. That's
yeah,
all.
it's just gonna happen. So
hmm
don't worry when that happens. Any advice to somebody that might struggle with that?
Honestly, just confronting them in a peaceful way.
Yeah.
Um, just talking it out comes a long way because sometimes when people are talking about you, they don't necessarily mean it in bad ways. You just, it's kind of like when we had our episode with Pastor Scott Disler,
Yeah.
and he said he saw conversations and he immediately assumed it was about him.
Right.
If you go up and talk to them, they could be talking about something completely different.
Yeah.
At my school here in Traverse City, there's a couple different Calebs. If I were to just overhear a conversation and they were talking about Caleb, it could be any of the other Calebs, you know?
Right. And it creates a really negative feedback loop.
hmm
So say hypothetically you're talking to this person and I'm like, oh, Caleb's talking crap about me. So then I go tell other people you're talking crap about me, and then I talk crap about you. It's just like this negative feedback loop that keeps going and going when it could just be prevented by a single conversation between us.
100%. Do you have any other advice that you would give?
I think it's always important to remember that they don't live your life. So
hmm
whatever they're talking about, whether it's real or not, just understand that. Caleb, I'm sure you've heard the quote: "Those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter." And
Absolutely.
and so it's similar to that. People who are gonna mind don't matter, and people who matter aren't gonna care. So
And I mean, that kind of goes right into number two here.
yeah, your self worth isn't identified by an approval rating. Now,
hmm
now, this might lead to a rabbit hole, Caleb. But social
Okay.
media, yeah. So how
Yeah.
how does this tie in with social media?
So when people have something that they experience in life and they throw it up on social media, they're all like, okay, I'm going to get this many likes. They have
Hmm.
this quota in their mind that to them is successful, right?
Yeah.
And so they post it and all of a sudden they don't get those likes because either people keep scrolling or maybe they posted it at a bad time or whatever.
Yeah.
And immediately their approval rating drops in their minds. They like view themselves as a president who just received a 20% approval
Yeah.
rating.
Yeah. Do you consider a like an opinion?
Absolutely.
Uh,
100%.
yeah, it's
I don't
it's
I don't think it's necessarily has to be that way,
right.
but certain people notice more than others. When I post a picture, it's just whatever.
Yeah.
But certain people will be like, okay, did this person like my post? This person, and go all the way through, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's just not worth the time.
Yeah. And there's a matter of a ton of principle or a different variety of scenarios where maybe it didn't pop up on their page or they just
Hmm.
weren't on their phone today. And so, but social media is definitely one of those where people kind of rate their worth based off of how much attention they're receiving. And I think
Absolutely.
and I think that's kind of where our generation is right now. We're in such a digital world that we kind of need to stray away from that,
Yep.
or at least attaching who we are to that. And so that's I guess Caleb, some advice. I know you practice it yourself, kind of separating yourself from social media. What advice would you have?
Honestly, guys, just take this and set it down and walk away from it. Just
Mm-hmm.
leave the room, get away from it, because it's more than just social media. Even when it comes to little things like that,
Yeah.
I know we're wired. When we get notifications, we're like, oh, I gotta check it,
Mm-hmm.
and the lack of notifications could be seen as a drop in approval rating.
Right.
And so honestly, just you always talk about it too. Unplug for a little bit. Go
Yeah.
outside. Go get a coffee. Go talk to someone person to person.
Yeah.
It sounds old fashioned these days, like, hey, let's go somewhere.
Yeah.
um, but I mean, there's a reason that you and I try so hard to make sure we record in person every single time we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that interpersonal communication, there's a lot that is missing even just from this episode that we usually
Hmm.
have that might not even be noticeable by watching, but just like our energy when we're speaking, the way we play off of each
Hmm.
other, it's so much different. And so
The
that's
the blooper reels are just great when we're
yeah.
together.
And so separating even like that doesn't just apply to our podcast. It applies
Right.
to everything in life that you do with somebody, but now you're doing it over a
Hmm.
screen. And so it's so important just to sometimes you got to unplug to recharge. That's what I like to say.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So moving into number 3, um, people don't know your journey. They don't know what you've been through or where you're heading. And so I think that one is very important. When it comes to seeing somebody who is having a bad day, I think to myself, well, what if, they have a child in the hospital or their parents are
Hmm.
sick or something like that, where I give them the benefit of the doubt every time. And maybe this is what they've been through. That's why they're not happy where they're at right now. And so that's one of those things that when people are talking behind your back or giving you an opinion that you don't like, just have to remember that they haven't lived your life. They don't know your past experiences and they don't know the plan that you have set forward.
100%. There's a lot of times when you're engaging in conversations with people you don't know as well, maybe they say something that, you heard before in a different context. Maybe you really dislike that, and just speak up because they don't know your journey. But at the same time, people always find someone to talk about, kind of like if you hear them talking about you,
Mm-hmm.
just let them be. Honestly, they're
Yeah.
not going to affect you if you don't let them.
Yeah.
But from that other perspective, you don't know what you were saying. You don't know what they were doing. You don't know the circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, I have a question for you because I think we've talked about it before. When people when people experience, like say I experienced everything that you have ever experienced,
Yeah.
would I be the same person you are?
Absolutely not. It's
No?
no, I think it's I mean you and I we both have different ways of going about things and
Hmm.
neither are right, neither are wrong. And so I feel like, take the thing with like twins. Identical twins raised at birth, same environment, same experiences, they grow up, but they become these different people. And so I think it's totally individual and unique based on who you are and your not digital blueprint, but your genetic blueprint. I
Right.
believe that everybody kind of takes the different challenges they face and molds into a unique version of a human being. And so that's kind of where I was going with
E-
that.
Exactly. And that's if you can account for what they have been through, then have no perspective on what they're going through.
Right.
That's all. But I just figured I'd stimulate some conversation.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of Joe Rogan, so I just figured here and there we could have
Yeah.
some side combos.
Definitely. Yeah. So number 4, you want to read that one?
Yeah, trust your intuition and who you are deep down inside.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
So that remains to kind of just standing your ground.
Hmm.
When it comes to, I was gonna ask you this on the last one, but I'm glad this kind of prompt brought it up. But when it comes to other people's opinions, how often does that change your actions?
99.9% of the time, I would say never.
Yeah,
And then that zero point zero 0.01 is always because those 0.01% of opinions are the opinions that I take to heart and
yeah,
they're from people that I admire and trust. But most of the time, I'm pretty stubborn. And I know in a sense you are too when it comes to I'm set out to do this.
yeah,
So you could say whatever you wanted to me right now, and I'm not going to change my plan.
yeah. I'd be like, yeah, like don't tell me what to do. That dude's a
I'd either
lunatic.
laugh or I'd say absolutely nothing.
Yeah, right. Just ignore him. Pretend you didn't hear it.
Right.
Yeah,
And another thing here is when you are starting to hear too many opinions that they're not, you disagree with them. What I did today, I went for a walk. And it wasn't necessarily because, anyone was talking about me or
right.
anything like that, but I trust who I am deep down inside. And so I trust myself the most
Yeah,
sometimes when I'm by myself, you know.
yeah. I
You,
love to
you don't
hear
have
that.
to explain anything. And it's
Yeah,
just being confident in who you are.
yeah. And that's I guess kind of bouncing back to social media here. It's
Hmm.
I feel like what's being shown on social media, everyone's kind of chasing after, and that comes to trends. Like you go on
Hmm.
TikTok and you see one person do a dance, like Charlie D'Amelio, and then you see 500,000 other people start doing the dance, and it's just
Right.
like that. It's just like the fad, and I guess you could say that's kind of like a formulative opinion of this person did a dance, so they think that dance is cool. Now I'm gonna think the dance is cool, and it kind of spreads like that. But you have to
Hmm.
remember that you have your own life and your own journey, and so you have to find what's cool to your soul, I guess, and not cool to other
Yeah.
people. Yeah,
Exactly. So just and go back to our reconstruction episode.
yeah,
Sometimes it takes time to build that trust and your intuition and knowing who you are,
yeah.
but once you have that built,
I love that, man. I love that reconstruction episode was so good. Oh, focus. Yeah, okay. It's making me I don't know. Just the reconstruction episode was such a good one because we both went through that, and we both went through like the rebuilding of ourselves, and it always gets me so hyped up. But moving into number 5, you will never please everyone with your decisions, so don't try. What does that mean to you?
that means kind of like we were going these are all intertwined, which is why I really like this
Yeah,
list. This is going back to when you asked me if someone gave me an opinion, would I change my action?
yeah,
No, no. And so if someone says, "Hey, I don't like that you're doing a podcast. I don't like your co-host. I don't like you. I don't
yeah,
like your voice," I would just say, "Okay,
yeah,
okay. Thanks for the feedback and
yeah,
keep doing it."
yeah.
Whatever I decide, if say I stop doing the podcast, there's going to be people that would be mad about that.
Right.
Whatever you decide, there's a reaction to it from other
Mm-hmm.
people, and you can never control it. So just don't stress it.
Yeah. One thing I do want to bring up right now, though, because we're on this topic, you kind of tied it in with the podcast. We want to hear your guys' opinion when it comes to this.
We love your
Yeah.
guys' feedback.
We would love some constructive criticism, some tips from the pros, kind of
Hmm.
because we do listen to our own podcasts, but we are not
Hmm.
our main audience, so we
Right.
don't necessarily know what ties you guys in. So you guys can let us know fun things that you like about our podcast, things you don't like, things that we could add that you guys would enjoy.
Well, and it can be difficult sometimes because we talk about it. We are our own like worst critics,
Yeah,
but at the same time, that makes it difficult because when you're going back and reviewing old podcasts of ours, it's like you don't know if you're being too critical or if you're
yeah,
not being critical enough.
right.
It's a really hard line. So if we could just have some outside opinions, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, yeah. So just to recap that one, you will never please everyone with your decisions, so don't try. Just remember that people are always going to have something they don't like about you. You can't please
Hmm.
everything. You can't please them with everything you do.
Just do what you were gonna do anyways.
Yeah. Plus, you're not living for them, so why would you care about pleasing them? So
Right.
yeah. So moving into number 6, what's good for someone else might not be good for you. And so I really like this one because I like when I'm going through a challenge or a struggle and somebody gives me their advice and I know it won't work for me. But it's still cool to hear like, oh, that worked for
Yeah.
them. That's really cool. It's not going to work for me. But I'm not going to be, an ass and shut you down and be like, don't tell me that. It's like, I'm just going to take in what you told me, but I understand that that's not going to work for me.
Right. And as we were saying, we all have different experiences. We're all different people. And honestly, this is one of the hardest parts about helping people is
Hmm.
that what's good for someone else might not be good for you.
Yeah.
Is that if you're talking to someone, they might be in the same situation as someone else before, but there's always different factors. And so it's not necessarily going to be a one equation problem.
Yeah.
There's going to be other factors involved, and you have to sit there and help them figure it out. And it's
Yeah.
so much fun, but sometimes it's scary because there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, just keep in mind, we don't all have the same makeup. We don't all have the same blueprint. That if, like what Tony Rubleski was saying on the episode, is that if someone gave you, kind of like a book and said, hey, if you follow each of these steps perfectly, you will become a millionaire. You should run the other way.
Hmm.
And it's just like
Hmm.
that with human emotions and how we deal with situations. Is if someone tells you, well, follow these 13 steps and that's how you'll get through being sad. It's like that's
Hmm.
probably not going to work for everybody. So.
And
Yeah.
here's a good analogy. Think about it as explorers, right? Back
Hmm.
in the day when we didn't know much about Earth at all. I mean, half of us thought it was flat. I'm sure some still think it is.
Yeah.
Um, but when people set out on an sorry expedition, they would follow the same techniques, they would follow similar patterns to explorers before them.
Yeah.
But if you go to North America, that's a lot different than it is in South America.
Hmm.
And so if you were to do exactly what they did to go to South America and North America, you would not survive because
Yeah.
we have winters up here. We have all sorts of different animals, different climates, different, structures.
The Michigan
And
dog
so
man.
it's yeah, exactly. But you know what I'm saying? It's like if they still followed the basics,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of tweaks they had to make to their expeditions.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Definitely. Kind of like same goal, but just different journey. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Well, moving into our last step, number 7, because taking the high road is always a better choice, right? Kill them with kindness.
Always. Yep.
It's that I love that. It's no matter what, if someone's talking crap about you, someone's giving you an opinion that you don't like, or you hear it from someone else, just take the high road. It's not going to help. Like I mentioned earlier with the negative feedback loop, it's just going to lead into a spiral of negativity, and it might boost your adrenaline and make your ego a little bit bigger by snapping on them and turning it back. But at the end of the day, just be the bigger person.
And at the same time, taking the high road doesn't mean you have to kill them with kindness. Sometimes it simply means don't respond.
Yeah, yeah, or just
You
yeah,
know,
just be mature about the situation.
And if when you feel that rage, just take a minute before you respond. Trust me, this is
Yeah.
from experience. Wait it out a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and when you have a calm mind, decide what to do then.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Caleb.
Because what's
Oh,
up?
sorry. Go ahead. If you're talking, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna kind of round it out and say because we don't always make the best decisions when we're
Yeah.
riled up. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, our episode 40, it is a milestone. Unfortunately, it had to be virtual, but we did
Hmm.
it. We are
Big 4-0.
made it to 40. Do you have anything you want to say?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All I wanted to say is that I want to say this on the podcast. That way I can keep myself accountable here.
Mhm.
I'm going to do a vlog and I'm going to do it here in Traverse and I'm going to challenge you to come back and come at me and we're going to see who can bring more subscribers in person to
Okay.
our channel.
Okay. I accept your challenge, and I will respond once your video is live. Okay.
100%.
And
100%. Expect it if possible. If it is possible, expect it before January, the end of January.
you got 8 days.
Yep.
Okay, so will be uploaded to this channel, correct, on YouTube?
Yep.
So any of our Apple Music listeners or our Spotify listeners, go check out our YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to follow content like this.
Or or our Apple Podcast listeners. You
Or
can't leave
Apple
those
Pod.
guys
Yeah,
out.
I forget we're on like 90 different platforms. Facebook Live listeners, come check out our YouTube. Um, yeah, definitely. So if Caleb uploads that, sees how many subscribers we get in person, I'm gonna have to bounce back and I'm gonna have to beat him, regardless of what number he gets. I'm gonna have to outdo him. So I'm excited for that. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
But as far as our milestone goes, thank you guys so much always for
Yep.
tuning in. We love every single one of you guys. You guys boost us through our days, boost us through our weeks, and I don't see us stopping anytime soon.
Yep. And hopefully we boost you through your week. All the feedback we get is great. It's not always the most constructive, but it's still feedback, and it means
Yeah.
a lot to hear that it's helping people out. So thanks for taking time out of your great Monday, and hopefully you guys have a happy Monday.
Yeah. Once again, happy Monday, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Adios.